And go blue, everybody. We are back for Michigan Postgame Live. And congratulations to the University of Michigan on reaching a pinnacle that very few other sports teams have reached. 1,000 wins. It was a closer game than I think a lot of us expected, but it was done. And I have a lot of thoughts. We are going to be taking calls today because Dre can't make it. He'll be back next week, I'm guessing, for the Ohio State post game. But my name's John Diadamo, and I'm going to be your host for the next 45 minutes, hour or so. Welcome everybody in. Please hit that like button. Subscribe to the Voice of College Football and the Michigan channel, the Voice of College Football. Share this around with a friend. Michigan finds a way to win at Maryland Stadium in the classic week look-ahead game. This was both a look-ahead game and a trap game and a hangover game. But unlike last year, where I was at the game and I was thinking for a large portion of the game, is Illinois actually going to win this game? And I flew all this way to watch Illinois beat Michigan. This time around, Michigan is on top almost the entire game, with the exception of that 3-0 score at the beginning. Michigan wins 31-24. So a couple things to kind of begin. And so a good friend of mine has this belief, and it's mostly rung true, that teams like Northwestern, teams like Maryland, teams like Illinois, they might put up a fight against the elite in the conference, but eventually they do something that we call kissing the ring. And it's something that we've seen repeatedly. We saw it in 2018 when Northwestern at one point was up on Michigan 17-3, and then Michigan comes back and wins the game 20-17. We saw it last season against Illinois, and we just saw it against Maryland here. Michigan finds a way to win. And like I said, everybody was making all these prognostications after the Illinois game. And in that game, Illinois was winning almost the whole game. In this game, Maryland wasn't winning except for in that very beginning when they were 3-0. So with all things considered, Michigan did better in their look-ahead game than they did last year. And so I have a couple of initial thoughts. At the end of this show, we will take calls. Looks like we already have a caller. Go ahead. The link is in the description, and we'll take calls throughout, towards the end of the show. Obviously, 1,000 wins is huge. Beat Ohio, absolutely. So let's start with this. Punting is winning. That punt by Tommy Doman was absolutely epic. That punt made it to the 1 yard line on the Maryland side. That is classic Big Ten football and exactly what you need to do in a situation like that to win the game. But is it time to go full SEC? Because what I'm realizing, and this isn't just Michigan, this is Ohio State, and other elite teams. Week 11, Alabama is playing a team called, I don't even know what they're, Chattanooga right now. Is it time to go to 8 wins as a conference? There's also a school of thought that Michigan may leave for the SEC, depending on how things go with the rest of this investigation. when you have your biggest game of the season in week 12, the game, you want to, like, the injuries that we saw today against whatchamacallit, Hinton, and obviously Roman Wilson got hit. JJ got hit. Talia got hit on the other side. Maybe the SEC is onto something. Because, and I actually heard Buckeyes say this. It's not just me saying this. I was talking to Buckeyes who said, maybe with this week 12 epic matchup every year, maybe week 11, it isn't a team that, like a Maryland or an Illinois. Maybe it's a team like a Chattanooga, right? And then maybe you play a really good non-con opponent at the beginning of the year, as Alabama does, right? As we should have against UCLA. But then in week 11, you play a team that you can beat, limit injuries. It's something to consider. I'm sure I'm going to get all kinds of takes on this. And yes, and we'll talk about kind of all the personnel decisions, but this one was one that I expected. The second that Hinton got hurt, I knew that they would move Carson Barnhart over to left tackle and Trente Jones to right, which it seemed to work out good enough because they were able to get out with a win. So again, it's a messy game, but Michigan made enough plays to win the game. Plays that I think of are the Jaden McBurrows play on Talia, Samaj Morgan's catch. The Sandra still was on fire today. Rod Moore had some good plays. And even, we might want to dog on JJ a little bit, but his throws to Colston Loveland, those are the types of plays you got to make enough of those to win the game, and Michigan did. I'm giving the Leaders and Best Award for coaches today to Ben Herbert. The strength and conditioning at Michigan now versus 5-6 years ago is night and day. And I know there were injuries in this game, but I'm talking about just from an overall toughness perspective. There are some dogs on this team, right? Especially the McBurrows play. I wrote this down in particular because I thought it was, the definitive play for Ben Herbert. McBurrows obviously hitting the weight room a lot. Finds a way to drive the opposing wide receiver into Talia to take him out. That's a play that only a couple of teams in the country, their players could make. That's because of strength and conditioning and because of coaching, obviously, too, on the defense. But again, without the strength and conditioning that Ben Herbert's brought to the table, Michigan might have lost this game today. Again, because it's a trap game. It's a game at Maryland Stadium, not at the Big House. Ben Herbert has taken this team and helped bring it to another level than it was during Harbaugh's first few years. And, you can point to countless ones. Obviously, Minner had a lot to do with it with Sandra Still, deciding to bring Sandra Still to the other side of the ball. Obviously, that turned out to be one of the best decisions in Michigan history because he was kind of a mid-wide receiver, but he is excellent on the defensive side of the ball. But Ben Herbert, above all, I feel like, you see this team looking elite at times. That's a Ben Herbert situation. On the offense side of the ball, very vanilla, okay? There were almost no perimeter runs except for Samaj Morgan's perimeter run, but almost every single run was up the middle. JJ barely ran in the game, and that's because their plan was the same as last year. Run Blake Corum through the middle, get out with a win. That was the game plan. Straight up. Couple of tosses to Loveland. Maybe you tried 3 deep shots all game to CJ. Obviously, Roman Wilson had a great catch in the beginning, then he got injured. Hopefully, he's okay. It sounds like he's okay. But at the end of the day, this was exactly what I expected. You don't want to show much of your Ohio State game plan. Next week, I expect, just like last year, to see the game plan come out, electric plays. Roman Wilson, I'm hoping, is fine. And, he's pretty much automatic catcher. Loveland is a pretty much automatic catcher. CJ's kind of been up and down this year, but I expect to see things that you just don't see the rest of the year. Look, they did enough to win. If Maryland, it's the exact same as last week. If Maryland had gone ahead, if they had taken the lead, I would have expected that the Ohio State page in the playbook gets peeled a little, and they try a couple of things against Maryland if they needed to. But they didn't need to because, again, they were the better team on the field from a physical standpoint. Give all the credit to Maryland for hanging in there and the defense that they have. I think it was very good. I think they did the best they could. Maryland, obviously that stadium, it's not even really home field advantage because it's like 60% Michigan fans. But they did a great job of trying to hang in there. But Michigan just has so many playmakers. It takes one thing, like that special teams play at the beginning. Obviously, the defense pressuring Talia to the point where he intentionally grounded it, and it became that safety. Those plays, the McBurrows play, like I talked about, Michigan just has too many playmakers, and the whole goal here is to go on a title run. So I think that they did it exactly the way that they needed to win the game. We did hear from Jenny Taft that Roman Wilson in street clothes was just a precautionary decision, which is good. So hopefully he comes back. He plays in the Ohio State game heavily. We're going to need him. We're going to need him because clearly the run, even though it was enough to beat Penn State, I don't think it was enough, to beat, Ohio State necessarily. So we'll see what happens. Not behind this offensive line. Yeah, I mean, the offensive line needs to get better. I mean, obviously 2 injuries. That's not great. Ladarius is injured. He's out. I don't know what he has, but he was out today. And then obviously Miles Hinton just got injured. So now you're down to Barnhart and Trente Jones on tackle positions. I have no worries about the guards. Those are both NFL guards. They're fine. The center's fine. He's not as good as Olu, but he's fine. But yeah, it's just it's not as good as the last 2 years, and we know that. I'd also like to point out right now that Georgia's losing to Tennessee. Again, week 11, Alabama's got the right idea, I think. They're probably going to sneak in. They could sneak into the playoffs. If they beat Georgia, they're going to sneak into the playoffs. So there you go. I'm awarding the leaders and best on offense. It was kind of hard because the offense wasn't the best, as I think that's putting it nicely. But it was very vanilla, and I think that was on purpose. But Blake Corum and Colston Loveland. Blake Corum is just such a dog. We're going to miss him a lot when he goes. And Colston Loveland is still, he missed one, but he's just usually so automatic. And he had a couple more of those this game, bailing Michigan out in situations. And I think you're going to see heavy use of Loveland next week. I didn't put this up, but JJ, I'm a little worried about JJ. Just FYI also, if you want your comment or question to definitely be on screen, send us a super chat because we're just we have 100 people in here, so the comments just keep rolling. But Alabama's playing Chattanooga, and maybe Michigan should be playing, Middle Tennessee or something, and instead you play a good non-con opponent early in the season, like a Texas, which we are going to play Texas. I think they have the right idea, honestly. JJ looks like he's nursing something. He looks like he's nursing some. I mean, he did get hit against Penn State last week. He did. Yeah, I mean, he made some questionable decisions, like throwing into triple coverage, or was not a good decision. I don't understand why he did that. Kirk Campbell's going to have to work with him to really improve on that. Tom Brady's been working with him. Just got to throw the ball away sometimes if it's not there. Just got to throw the ball away. And he doesn't. He almost never throws the ball away. He tries to play hero ball, and sometimes you just got to throw it away if it's not there. Like, I hope somebody is telling him next week, throw it away if it's not there. Michael, I just want to say to Michael, good game. Well played. And your guys played it's like night and day from old Maryland. I mean, it's a really good football team, right? And they had momentum after that interception by JJ. They have momentum, and so I give your guys a lot of credit. On the defensive side of the ball, I'm a little concerned about Michigan's secondary. Right? There were some great plays by Sanders still, no doubt about that, but Will Johnson got beat a couple times. I'm just not necessarily seeing the secondary that we're going to need to beat Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, and then if you go to the playoffs, you're going to be playing, Brock Bowers. You're going to be playing lights out wide receivers and tight ends. This is not a playoff caliber secondary. I can tell you that right now. They've got to work on it. I'm hoping that they do the next couple of weeks, but I gotta say, allowing Talia to just sling it like that so many times. I know he's a good quarterback, but it makes me worried because McCord. I don't think McCord is as good as Talia. First of all, I actually don't. But he has a better wide receiver than anybody on Maryland's team, Marvin Harrison Jr., who's going to be drafted second in the NFL draft. They've got Emeka Egbuka. They've got Cade Stover. They've got, weapons, even somebody like a Carnell Tate. So they've got weapons, right? Even though McCord isn't that great, they've got more weapons than Maryland has. So I worry about the secondary, and that's definitely something to watch. And I will say this: Talia giveth. I mean, he has moments where he's an NFL quarterback, and he has moments where he's a high school quarterback or a JUCO quarterback. And it's like you never know what Talia. It's like in Forrest Gump, life is a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Talia is the Forrest Gump box of chocolates quarterback, because you never know what you're going to get. You never know if you're going to get an elite throw or you're going to get a decision like the intentional grounding led to a safety. I mean, you just don't know. That one play against Ohio State where, he did like the one thing he couldn't do, clock ran out. There's just, he has moments, even though he's a fifth year, you never quite know what you're getting. High ceiling and low floor, absolutely. Leaders and best on defense, and then we'll bring on our first caller. You can call the show if you'd like to. Camera optional. Leaders and best on defense. Mikey Sanders still lights out plays there throughout the game. Braden McGregor and Jaden McBurrows. I thought all three of them had really good plays. Kenneth Grant also continues to just outmuscle the opposition. We've got some super chats coming in. Dan Rutherford, U of M ceiling isn't as high as the 2022 team. Well, you can say that. The 2022 team lost to TCU. So if that's the case, I think the 23 team, it does have a high ceiling. you can't judge a lot on these last two games. You just can't. Because if you think they were playing the whole playbook in either of those games, I got a bridge to sell you. Okay? You're going to see what Michigan can really do against Ohio State, just like last year. Because if Ohio State tries to stack the box again, JJ's going to cook them with Roman Wilson. If they try to go zone, then Blake Corum, who's, by the way, very eager, I'm sure, to play in this game and be the feature back. Blake Corum didn't play last year. Look out. Look out, Ed Rogers. Look out, Buckeyes, because he's going to be scoring some touchdowns. All right. And we've got Sean Garner. We've got a Buckeye giving us super chat. Thank you, Sean. And Sean joins us on the panel a lot of weeks for our Big Ten Live, the Ocho, Mondays. And I host the 8 p.m. Eastern block, and we call it the Ocho, and Sean's on that. He does the College Football After Dark sometimes, calls in. So thank you for that. Nice win, boys. Every great team has to find a way to gut out an ugly win. And this was really the only one, right? Like Penn State, it was never in doubt for a second. I know that score was close, but it was never in doubt for a second. This was in doubt. Like, I'm not going to lie. There were moments where I thought Talia was going to do enough to pull Maryland ahead and win the game. But, luckily, again, Michigan's talent and depth won out, I think, to beat Maryland in an obvious trap game, look-ahead type matchup. All right. With all that said, we do have a caller. We've got Mike Fort, so I'm going to bring him up now. We got Mike Fort in the house. Go Blue.
Go Blue, John. How you doing?
I'm doing better now that I saw that we escaped with a win. I mean, at least this was better than Illinois, which I went to, and I was like, Illinois was, Money Moody saved Michigan from a loss in that game. At least this game, Michigan was ahead almost the whole game. But what did you make of what you saw?
I didn't like what I saw, to be honest. I mean, but you said, the only time Maryland ever led was 3-0. But that aside, probably the one gripe I have is that McCarthy's got to be better with controlling the ball. I mean, it's kind of a picked nit, considering the fact this is only the second game this season where he's thrown an interception, the other one being Bowling Green. But I mean, the actual interception I didn't like. The play
throwing a triple coverage.
But the one before it I liked even less, because in that one he was running to the right and he throws a cross body to the left. If you do that in the NFL, they will bench you.
Yeah.
That is easily the most dangerous throw you can make in the NFL, is to throw across your body like that. It's begging to be intercepted. So, I think, Harbaugh might need to talk to him about that one, him being the former NFL quarterback and all.
Yeah.
But I mean, now as far as like your defensive leaders and best, this could kind of be a 1-1A thing, because Saberstill and Grant both just looked lightning today.
They did.
I would probably
Saberstill made some lights out plays for sure.
I would probably give it just an edge over Saberstill, but Kenny Grant gets an acknowledgement. He had some really good plays. Now, I did like our Iowa impression of getting 2 safeties.
Yeah, that was great. 2 safeties in one game. That is Iowa level. Wow. And that last one especially put us ahead by 7, so I know it was kind of Talia's mistake more than anything else, but he did it because of the pressure.
Yeah, and we had been getting a decent amount of pressure on him, which is good, because like you said earlier, and I agree with it, Talia, I mean, if Talia is having a day, he can be an absolute problem. But if you pay attention, he will throw the ball your way 2 or 3 times. You just have to capitalize on it.
Right. Yeah, he does have a tendency to get some interceptions. Speaking of safeties, the score is currently 3-2, Illinois versus Iowa.
Wow, that is such an Iowa score.
3-2. So yeah, that I mean, I think I predicted something ridiculous like 10-9 or something like that last on the Ocho, but that's yeah. So lots of safeties going on in the Big Ten today.
There you go. I might have to see if that one's streaming. I don't think Iowa Illinois is going to be streaming, but I'm kind of running out because I was over at Utah Arizona, and Arizona is just beating the brakes off of Utah. I can't even watch that game anymore.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, the Pack, they're. Well, I guess everybody's moving away next year, and the dynamics are going to change. But
yeah, and I'd like to officially welcome. Well, at the end of the season, USC and UCLA who are playing right now. Not exactly. Last I checked, I think it was 7-0 UCLA, and then Oregon and Washington.
Yeah.
Which I assume one of them is probably going to make the playoffs. The only way
I hope it's not Oregon.
Yeah, or Oregon seems like from the eye test they would be a bigger problem. The only way to kind of keep that is if Oregon State wins out, that might throw a crimp in the Pac-12's chances of getting somebody in.
Absolutely. We got Dependent Fanatic. So those punts inside the 10 were huge. Yeah, I mean, yeah, punting is winning sometimes, and that especially that one at the 1 yard line, that's incredible. That was incredible, and that of course then helped cause the I believe that helped cause one of the safeties. So yeah, that I mean, field position was obviously very huge today because Michigan's offense was sputtering. I think part of that was because the play calling was really, really vanilla, running up the middle a million times. It's like traditional Michigan Harbaugh offense, and he wasn't even on the field. He wasn't even on the sideline today. But it looked like Harbaugh in terms of just no creativity in the running part of the offense. Like, yeah, I think they're saving a lot of that for Ohio State.
You have to hope so because there was a little bit more passing, but it looks like, and I don't know how much of this is based on McCarthy not being 100%.
Yeah. He looked like he got banged up against Penn State, and he's kind of nursing that.
So, people could talk about, we can't do it. He was never a Heisman. Considering the duality of him not being in 100% proper shape and Barnhart kind of really dropping the ball in this one, I don't blame Moore for doing it 300 times in a row.
Yeah, but it's perimeter. It's not that hard to call perimeter run, and you have to have a slightly different personnel set there. But calling a perimeter run once in a while, when Samaj Morgan got that touchdown, that was a perimeter run call.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
We barely got any. I just think sometimes they get so conservative with the running plays, and just doesn't make sense. But okay, so we got Moose calling in too. Let's see how you're doing. Hey, Moose.
Can you hear me?
Hear you good.
Yeah. Go Blue.
No echo? Good. Hey, what's up, guys?
No echo.
No echo. Everything good.
Yeah.
I'm feeling.
Found a way to win.
You already know how I feel, John. We've been chatting the whole time in the game.
Yeah.
A win is a win, but I'm not happy with our performance today. I know we won, and I know I can't be too hard on my team, but offensively, we did not look good today offensively at all.
Well, how much of that is by design, though?
Yeah, and I will say, JJ kind of, I don't know, he made some bad throws today, especially that interception in the end zone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And this is like the second game in a row, isn't it? That we haven't really passed much. Is that concerning to you guys? It is to me.
No, it's not to me. Because, like I said, this is
Is
a
it?
mixture of.
Is there something wrong with JJ?
Yeah, McCarthy's not
trying to figure out.
100%. McCarthy is not 100%.
Right.
And then
There's got to be something wrong.
And then you got the Barnhart Hinton thing coming up. I mean,
yeah,
it's understandable.
Yeah, the tackles, obviously, Ladarius Henderson was out to start the game. Then Hinton gets knocked out. So then Barnhart, who's been playing at right tackle mostly, goes to left tackle. You put in Trente Jones, and the issue with that is in practice, you're not
he was getting burned
practicing
again today.
Well, we only allowed one sack,
Barnhart was getting burned again today by speed rushers. I think they might have to put Trente Jones on left tackle.
Well, I mean, is Hinton expected to be out for good?
I don't know. We haven't heard yet.
I mean,
we'll probably get the press conference news soon on Roman Wilson and Hinton, I'm sure.
Supposedly they left him out for protocol because he got hit in the helmet or something. I don't know.
Roman's fine. I think Roman could have gone back into play. This was just kind of he was held out just to make sure nothing.
I don't understand this. Maybe they didn't want him to get hurt for the game next week. I don't know.
Yeah, I will say that the Maryland's defense was so ready for the run up the middle, and Michigan just did it anyway. That like the one of the few perimeter runs remember when Samaj Morgan took that run to the outside and took it for a touchdown? Like they could have called more of that and probably scored more points. They just chose not to because I think they want to leave plays for Ohio State. That's my guess.
I think overall our defense really won us the game on a few plays. But I will say our secondary was getting exposed bad, man, on the pass. He was lighting us up in the pass game. But I will say Kenneth Grant with that tackle for loss and then that sack near the end zone, it wasn't a safety, I think it was.
It wasn't officially a safety. The safety came from
those are two big plays, man. That changed the game right there. That was Grant was huge, man.
Oh yeah,
and then Sanderson with the 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
Hey, Tylenol Jackson and everybody saying this idiotic comment. Just remember that last year Illinois was winning the game until the last play of the game. So like, and by the way, in that game, everybody had everyone else's signals because yes, Michigan probably had a lot of Illinois signals, but Ryan Walters also, from what we heard, had a lot of Michigan signals. So this type of comment is like,
what is up with the comments on Twitter too? They're saying, "Oh, it's a lot harder to score points when you don't know people's plays." Michigan didn't know their plays. What the hell is people talking about?
Wow, wait. You mean people are being jackasses on Twitter?
Yeah.
This Ohio State fan chick was like, "Yeah, JJ had a bad game. I wonder why. It could be because he didn't know the plays."
Yeah.
This makes no sense to me, dude. I don't understand it.
Wait, Ohio State fans on Twitter talk crap about Michigan. Why was I not informed of this?
Yeah. I think we need to also stop the doom posting like this. Holy shit, are we in trouble next week? No, I don't think we are.
I don't understand that either. I mean, this is the very first legitimate quote unquote
struggle. Yep. Our struggle streak is over. Georgia
went to Auburn, was tied halfway through the fourth quarter. South Carolina, I think they are 3-7.
Yeah.
Went to Athens, lost by only 10. Washington at home in Seattle lost to Arizona State, which is terrible, 15-7. Went to Stanford, I think it was 42-33. Florida State.
Hey guys,
if Boston College didn't get a flag, Boston College beats Florida State. So spare me with this whole, this game means you shut up. You clearly do not know football.
As Michigan fans, can we all agree not to schedule Maryland right before Ohio State anymore. Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought last year. I mean, going into last year, Illinois wasn't supposed to be much.
Rob J's watching this from a I thought you had said plane at first. I'm stuck on a phone. No worries, man. I do my phone a lot when I'm in chat. So I get it.
And look at this comment. Auburn and South Carolina would have beaten the Sound and will to live out of Michigan. Shut up. South Carolina is 3-7. Auburn is what, 6-4? This guy clearly knows shit about football. He knows absolutely shit about football.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah, I don't even want to dignify that. I mean, yeah, he.
I'm not even going to comment on that.
Land found. Yeah. Or is that land found? I think.
I thought it was DeReal for a second because the way he's sucking SEC.
Yeah, he's been right now. That dude's been really toxic about Michigan lately, dude. DeReal has. He's been getting on my nerves.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, if you ain't got haters, you ain't popping. Okay, if you're not, so in other words, if you're not like the part of the reason all of this stuff has been getting so much like traffic and clicks and everything else is because Michigan is having yet another undefeated season. And like, so you're, like there's going to be criticism, even if there was nothing going on about, off the field stuff. When you're undefeated, you get criticism.
Jealousy.
Well, I mean, they ran
jealousy, John. That's what it is.
They ran out of the cheaters' well to dip in, so they finally got a game where we didn't beat them by 50 points, and now we got a little nit to pick, because they can't do it, because when we beat, Michigan State and East Lansing 49-0, all they could say was cheaters. When we beat Minnesota 52-10 in Minneapolis, cheaters. I mean. When we beat Nebraska 45-7 in Lincoln, I mean that's all they could do. This gave them the little window of opportunity for them to say something retarded other than cheaters. It's a struggle when you can't win against other teams who have every last playoff contending team right now has had at least one struggle game. So
and this time of year you got to expect teams playing at their best because everybody is fighting for a playoffs,
right?
To get to a bowl game or a playoff spot.
Joe Boo, sorry if I mispronounced that. $1.99 super chat. I'm hearing it's going to be Weiss that sinks us. Well, from what I understand, that's a separate investigation that's going on. So I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen or not.
Yeah, I heard that's what the feds are investigating the Weiss thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, computer access crimes. So gambling. We still don't know exactly what that even means yet.
It's gambling.
Oh, okay.
It's to do with gambling.
Oh.
It's not anything that you did. It's nothing related to that. Yo, bartender, Joe Boo needs a refill.
Landonic again. So this is a Michigan fan. Okay, I thought you were land found for a second because your name's kind of similar. I don't know. Here's the thing with Georgia. Georgia's been so up and down. I don't know how to act about them because it's like one game they're struggling and then the next game they look like a ridiculously good team, but Ole Miss's defense is shit. So, like, that's also something you have to remember. Like, Ole Miss is very offensive in nature. Lane Kiffin is an offensive coach. Their defense has been shit since what? DJ Durkin? Like
that's what I'm trying to tell Georgia fans. We don't know what we're going to get every week for Georgia. Are we going to get the Georgia that struggled against Auburn? Are we going to get the Georgia that steamrolled? Who was it? Who they steamrolled? Kentucky.
We
don't know. That's the thing. We don't know. And that's if you're an elite team, you don't have inconsistencies like that. If you're elite, you're consistently good.
Well, then every team is not elite because every team has had inconsistencies. I just went over it. Georgia had Auburn, South Carolina. Florida State should have lost to Boston College. Washington, Stanford and Arizona State, these are two terrible teams, gave them fits. So, I mean, there's no team that you can, look any of the playoff contenders, you can't look at their entire schedule and say, oh yeah, they've had every game in tow. They haven't. So
that's why you have to bring it, man, every game.
This is the first game we haven't. I mean, honestly, from an eye test standard, we were number one going into this game. Now you could take that away from us now because Maryland is 6-5 now, so that's not a good look. But to sit there and think that every other team has looked like pristine roses from top to bottom, first quarter, fourth quarter, every game, they're looking very selectively. And the funny thing is, first of all, how is he a Michigan fan when he types I'm a period Michigan fan? That's text mark Ohio State right there. So I'm not buying that.
Real quick, Iowa just scored a touchdown on offense.
Whoa! Somebody take a picture.
Very exciting. Matthew Rowley, $2 super chat. Thank you for your contribution.
It is Illinois.
Thank you for your contribution, but there is zero chance we beat Ohio playing like that. No shit. But thank you for your contribution, but no shit. Right. Of course, we're not going to play like that.
We have work to do this week.
Let's just forfeit. We didn't look perfect one game of the year. Let's just forfeit and go home. We're obviously crap.
Because here's the thing, like obviously you're limiting your playbook to like one page out of the like there are so many plays that we're not going to execute against Maryland. They barely did a perimeter run. They barely did a QB run. They barely did anything other than running up the middle, basic tight end passes. Like it was so vanilla. Like, of course, that's not what it's going to look like next week. And it's the same with last year. We look like crap against Illinois, and then we go to Columbus and like beat them deep. At Columbus. So I would just say like take a breath, and we'll see what
my
it looks
biggest concern is injuries. I hope we can have almost everybody back for that game. That's the only thing I'm worried about.
Matthew, thanks for another contribution. Michigan looked like this every game. Jim is out. No, they have no. I mean, the first three games of the year, we didn't like blow teams away by 70, but they were comfortable wins. And then last week against Penn State, that game was never in doubt for a second.
Yeah.
That they didn't pass the ball in the second half because they didn't have to, because they knew that the defense was shutting Drew Allard down. And he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with the pressure that we were putting on him. So we'll see how it goes next week, but I think we're going to be okay.
I mean, there's obviously a big dip with Harbaugh out. I mean, I'm not going to argue that. It clearly has, because like I said, the first three teams, other than UNLV, which is actually turning out to be a pretty legitimate team, the other two are not teams you'd write home about. And, we didn't beat them by 50 points, God forbid. Whereas, when we actually get into conference play, we are actually beating teams by 50 points with Harbaugh on the sideline. So, yeah, Harbaugh does make a difference. But like you said, the Penn State game, I mean, if you'd have told me in Sharon Moore's first game wearing the big headset that he was going to go on the road to a top 10 team and win by 2 scores, you know what? I'm good with that. I ain't got too many complaints.
I think I would be more concerned if they had CJ Stroud at quarterback next week than McCord.
Oh, God.
I'm not saying McCord is a bad quarterback. He's not a bad quarterback, but I don't think he's as talented as CJ Stroud. So I feel more confident, even though we're not going to have Harbaugh on the sideline.
Landon, yeah, so JJ hasn't forgotten. It's that he probably was told not to run in this game. There are games in the season where JJ's clearly been told not to run. And he's also not 100%. So running against Maryland, unless he did have one that he did. There was one play where he ran it. But like most games were not, most games he doesn't need to. They're saving that for Ohio State, or he's too injured to do it. And that's okay too, that they don't want to cause injury. So I wouldn't worry too much about it against Maryland.
That's a great point. He just came and said with that question. That's making me wonder too. If JJ's not scrambled, is there something wrong with him that we don't know about?
He's not healthy.
He's not 100%.
There's got to be something wrong with him, because he usually scrambles when he's getting pressure.
They mentioned it in the broadcast even that they Joel Klatt said, he doesn't think that JJ's 100%, and I agree.
Yeah, I completely expected a vanilla offense, but that's the other thing. You don't want to put all your cards on the table. Look at the playoffs last year. TCU beat us. Now, we kind of helped them out on that one by giving up sixes, but TCU, they beat us, and then they went up against Georgia, and Georgia just beat the absolute shit out of them.
Right.
So that's what happens. Whenever you put too much cards on the table, and TCU had to do that to beat us. If TCU had played the conservative route, try to save themselves for Georgia and play that against us, we'd have beat them. Even with our mistakes, we'd have beat them by 3 scores.
Yeah, when I seen JJ sitting in the pocket dancing around like that, I'm like, that's not JJ when he's getting. What's going on here? Yeah, I knew there was something wrong.
Jobu, beginning to think having signs means something. Okay, thanks. I'm not too concerned. This game, so last week, right? I forget who it was. I think it was Blake Corum. Maybe it was Sharon Moore himself, but he's like, we're going to do what we need to do to win the game, right? So in that situation, they felt that they needed to run 32 straight times to win the game, and they were right. Today, they also ran a lot, although they sprinkled more passing in because Maryland's defense was, I think, trying to be a little bit more multiple than Penn State, and so they felt like they needed to do a little bit more throwing. There was definitely more throwing in this game than last week, and there was a pick, but there were also some good throws to Loveland. There was one early to Roman Wilson, and by the way, folks, like Roman Wilson, as long as he's okay, like he's going to be an it factor next week and against Georgia eventually. Like, to beat Georgia, you need to have a deep passing answer, right? You saw that Ohio State almost won the game. If MHJ stays healthy, they do win the game. And they did it with a deep passing attack, right? And a run and a QB run. So Roman Wilson's been developed as that guy. He's been developed clearly as the answer to win against the more elite teams. So as long as he's okay, people saying we don't have a chance against Georgia. Well, it's a different Michigan team. I mean, it's an enormously different Michigan team than in 2021 when Michigan faced Georgia. It's like the strategy is completely different.
Well, and we also do have some wide receiver talent. You're starting to see some of it with Samaj Morgan finally starting to get a little shine.
Yeah, Samaj Morgan. He's
we've been talking about me and John been talking about Morgan for a while.
Yeah, he's been looking good.
Yeah, he's going to be a stud.
It seems like he's more of like a gadget guy with jet sweeps and reverses and stuff. But I want to see him actually just line up and try to beat a defensive.
Like John, remember when we was talking? I was telling you, I was like, you got to get pressure on Tug, man, or he'll make you pay. And Michigan finally started getting pressure, and you see what happened.
Yep, Mike Rotunda, thank you. Let's be honest, this game meant nothing. This was a get in and get out game precisely. That's what we've been trying to say. Like, the only thing that worries me slightly is the injuries, and JJ not being at 100% worries me slightly. But I still think that this game doesn't tell you a whole lot.
No. Other than the fact that anti-Michigan people are desperate for any type of
anything they can cling to, even though Ohio State's had struggle games. I mean, they would have lost to freaking Notre Dame, who's a mid-team. They would have lost to Notre Dame if they didn't have 10 men on the field the last 2
plays. If Marcus Freeman could count to 11, Notre Dame wins that game.
Yeah.
For sure, they would have lost if they had 11 players because they barely scored with 10 players.
And also keep in mind that they were down at the half to Rutgers. They were tied at the half to this Maryland team. You can't sit there and look at Ohio State and say, wow, world beaters. Nah.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Any final thoughts for us today?
I'm just looking forward to watching a few more good games and look forward to the game next week.
Yeah, I just want us to get healthy. Hopefully, we'll have everybody back. Hopefully, JJ's not as bad as we all think. And yep, I'm looking forward to the big game next Saturday. It's going to be for all the marbles, so should be a good one.
Absolutely, and so Moose, I know you've got your Twitter. You just posted that on chat for people if they want to follow you. And
big
Mike,
shout out! 1,000 wins today, folks. Michigan becomes the first team to hit 1,000 wins. So awesome!
Thank you, Dependent Fanatic, for posting that. All right, I'm gonna let you all go and wrap up here. But thanks to both of you for calling in, and go Blue.
Go Blue.
Okay, final thoughts here. You guys, I mean, a lot of you are saying it exactly like I did. Maryland kissed the ring. It's a trap game. It's a look-ahead game, but Michigan found a way to win just like they did last year in the trap game, look-ahead game. And I just wouldn't put that much stock in what you saw other than, watch out for the injuries, follow the injury report. We'll see what comes of that. I posted all of your super chats, rewind, and thank you for the contributions. Heavy hit in the fourth quarter, 1,000 wins, absolutely. All right, y'all. So a couple of things, just a reminder, we have a new SEC channel, so subscribe to that, and a new Big 12 channel. Of course, as always, when you're doing your shopping on Amazon, use the Voice of College Football link in any description of any video to get your shopping. Go to ticketsmarter.com, get yourself some tickets. Football season's, college football's almost wrapping up. We still have NFL, we still got basketball, we got all kinds of things going on. Go to ticketsmarter.com, use BIG promo code for $10 off or BIG20 for $20 off of a purchase of at least $300. Get smarter with your tickets at ticketsmarter.com. And of course, check out our merch store. We now have free shipping. It is almost Christmas. So if people are asking you, what do you want for Christmas? Well, how about some Voice of College Football merch, right? We've got Michigan football at the Voice of College Football, an entire section. So I'm going to put the link here. Everybody get yourself some Voice of College Football merch right there for Christmas. Get your friends and family some stuff if they like college football, or if they ask you, give them the link and they can get you something. Also, don't forget to join our Patreon or YouTube membership, patreon.com/MarkRogersTV, or become a YouTube member on the main channel. And join our Discord, talk Wolverines all the time. We also have the betting guide. We've got, if you are a member of at least one, then you get access to the College Football After Dark show, and so on. Next week, we should have Dre back for the Ohio State game. We've got some great shows coming up. So Monday night, as always, is the Ocho, which I host, Voice of College Football, on the main channel. So from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, we have a cast of Voice of College Football community members that come on and contribute to that. Tuesday night is Michigan Wolverines Live, which will be at 8 p.m. Eastern. Tanner Wooten is going to be joining us, and we're looking at getting an Ohio State person as well. I'm also going to be co-hosting the Jacksonian with Jackson Johnson, and we're going to talk all about Michigan, Signgate, the game, and everything else with Jackson Johnson. So all of that's coming up. It's very exciting. And then at 11:30 tonight, join us for our Voice of College Football wrap-up show, which we do every Saturday night after all the games. Mark Rogers, voice of college football, takes your calls and gets your take on what's going on. So that'll be coming up at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. And for everyone here, my name is John Diadamo. Until next time, go Blue. And congrats to Michigan again on 1,000 wins.